So ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first session of the Tata Steel Trailblazers Conclave 4.0. And the session is actually very interesting and in the literal sense extremely inspiring. It speaks about sports and inspiration. So let me start with a very, very small story. We all have witnessed the heroics of a certain Sanju Samson in the recent T20 World Cup. And I'm starting with the recent example. Out of the team, then suddenly drafted into the side to tackle the off-spin problem, and he plays 3 match-winning knocks back-to-back, gets player of the tournament, something you'll cherish forever. So what does Sanju Samson say after he pulls off another match-winning knock against New Zealand in the final of the ICC T20 Men's World Cup 2026? He says, "My father was a fisherman. Every day, he would go out fishing. Someday, he would come back empty-handed. Someday, he would be very happy and satisfied. But what was important was the fact that he went out every day. He never ever stopped trying. And that is how I learned the lesson from my father. That in any situation, I can be put in any situation, and I'll still try and give it my best. I'll not try and think of the adversities. I'll not try and think of the outcome, but I'll put my best foot forward. I'll give it my 100%. And this is how, ladies and gentlemen, inspirational stories are formed. And we have 4 extremely inspirational panelists. And it's an honor and privilege for me, Boryada, to co-moderate this session with me. You are inspiring yourself. So why not start with you? You only mentioned, just before we were about to start the session, that sports is all about storytelling. Why don't you start this first session of the Trailblazers Conclave by telling us an inspirational story that you have witnessed or you have been a part of or you love telling? Because sports is all about storytelling.
I'll take 1 minute because I've already taken more time. I'll take 1 minute and then let's hear from them. It's about them, not me today. So this is in Rio 2016. Sachin Tendulkar was brand ambassador of that particular Olympic Games. He had a cast because he had a broken foot, a broken ankle. So he called and we said, let's meet. He said, but I can't walk. I said, listen, nobody will mob you here. So why don't we go to the beach and let's have breakfast together? So he says, okay, but you've got to come and take me. So I said, okay. So we go to the hotel and we walk to the Baja beach. And he said, all we want is omelette sandwich, simple omelette sandwich. Just get us omelette sandwich. Unfortunately, the person at the store, the shop didn't understand. He couldn't follow even one word of English. So Sachin said, yaar, kuch to karo, samjhao inko, I want omelette sandwich. So by then there was one guy who we thought was kind of able to understand English, okay? So he said, ask him. And that guy realized that I was obviously sort of looking at Sachin, speaking to Sachin with a kind of degree of reverence. So he came and said, who is this guy? So I said, can you tell the shop person that we want omelette sandwich? He said, yeah, but who's this guy? So I said, do you know cricket? He said, no. Cricket, no. So I said, football? He said, football, Pele, Brazil, football. I said, this guy, India, 2 Pele. He said, 2 Pele. I said, yes, 2 Pele. So he does his act. He's told the shop person, we want omelette sandwich. And we've had our omelette sandwich. By the time we finished our omelette sandwich, there are about 60, 70 people outside that shop. And Sachin is telling me, what's happening here? I said, I don't know. So we go out, and this guy is making all of them sit in stand in a queue. I said, boss, what are you doing? He said, you said 2 Pele. I've got all my relatives from all over Rio come and take photographs with 2 Pele. Now you tell 2 Pele. And I'm like, boss, what are you saying? He said, everybody will have coconut water with 2 Pele and will take photos. I told Sachin, now you do this. So Sachin stands there in that sun, 45 minutes, 2 Pele with coconut water and takes photographs. Sport.
That is fabulous, and that is exactly how you start the session with some inspiring stories. Let me start with Rahul sir in this regard. Sir, rugby has been extremely close to you, and you have spoken at length in various interviews, in various podcasts about rugby being very, very close to your heart. And now we have seen a lot of celebrities come and speak about rugby. We have seen a Farhan Akhtar endorsing rugby. We have seen an Abhishek Bachchan speaking about rugby. So how inspirational has that journey been, Rahul sir? I mean, seeing rugby from the scratch, loving the sport, playing it, and now functioning as an able administrator to take the sport to greater heights. Because I think it somehow highlights India's sporting ecosystem as well, that inspiration is the main mantra going forward. So how inspirational has that journey been for you as a player and then as an administrator in taking the sport forward?
Well, I think that what I would like to take out of that question is two things. One is what makes us all get out of bed every day and do what we do. And two is how do we do something that has meaning for the other side. There are too many people who talk at you. They don't care about how you receive me as long as I get my words out. Whereas I've always believed that what do I want to hear sitting here? Why will this become an extremely meaningful 15 minutes for you? So I get out of bed doing what I do outside of my cinema is because I love the sport. I love sport. I love this particular sport. It has taught me to lose. It has taught me to be collaborative, both of which do not come naturally to me. It has taught me finally to shoot through my fears. Off the field, till today, the closest I can get to crying is when I see boys and girls from far-flung corners of a country playing with this oddly shaped ball on a mud field with the blue sky above them and the mud below them and a ball in their hand. And they seem like demigods. That's what they seem like. As an administrator, and I do not know when I became one, I don't know how to run sport. The only thing I know is the one unfailing ingredient in every single inspirational story is love. All I focus on doing is showing love to our rugby players, which is what I would have loved when I was playing for India for 11 years. I remember the first time I became president, there was an under-18 Asian tournament, and there was myself, the secretary of the organization, the CEO, the head coach, 6-7 of us, head of high performance, and each one would contribute like a conveyor belt something into a roll of towel. Somebody would put Odomos, somebody would put hand sanitizer. This was just post-COVID. Somebody would put in shampoo. Somebody would put in a bottle of coconut oil. Somebody would put in a menstrual product. And then we would make these gift towels rolled up and place it on the bed of the athlete who was going to come. It costs you nothing. It costs you, it's like that MasterCard ad. Cost of doing this, 700 rupees. Somebody more interesting than me, I'll wait. But the effect of doing something like this is priceless. And that translates into where should we have the national tournament? Let's do it in Calcutta because we have a fantastic, huge sponsor. No. If I was a rugby player in June in India, where would I like to play? At the coolest place. Can we find Bangalore? Can we look at maybe Jalpaiguri? Next, what is the ground like? If a rugby player wants nothing more than a fantastic ground. They will forgive everything else. Which is the best ground in India in June? And finally, where's the food extremely nourishing and good? And where can they stay really well? Because I know as a rugby player, that's all. Ground, food, stay, that's all I need. Then we will decide how to fund it. or who will fund it. If you start every single thing you do thinking of the player, as a player, what would be perfect? You might not be spectacular, you might not break world records, but you will never do wrong. And for me, that is way more important as a human being, to just never do wrong. On an individual level, my phone is here. If somebody gets hold of my phone and walks away, zero tension. You can check my photographs, you can check my messages, you can do what the hell you like. I have no problem. I'm a very private person, but I have no secrets. So the idea of always thinking about or being propelled by love is something that has come to me, because at the age of 6, I stood on a stage slightly higher than this, and I discovered I loved acting. I discovered people were enjoying it, I was enjoying it, and it was the easiest thing I did, much easier than mathematics. And when I was 13 and I picked up this oddly shaped ball, again 3 things came to my mind. 1, unlike cricket, you can get dirty legitimately, and my parents would not shout at me. 2, you could be violent on that field and it would be celebrated, it would not be scorned. And 3, and I don't know whether it still holds true, but the more you bled, the sexier you were to girls in my school. The more you broke your bones, like I broke my nose for the first time, and the 3 most beautiful women in school were by my bedside. And I thought to myself, let me break my nose, whenever it's a dry spell, I'll break my nose and hopefully I'll be able to, get somewhere. So all the wrong reasons. But that's the same, that boy is still sitting here. The boy who played Tom the Piper's son, the boy who played for India, that boy is here. And that boy will never go anywhere. Only thing that has changed is the boy now knows to be slower, wiser, and to wait longer. But otherwise, everything else, the impulse of everything I do is I've been blessed with love and finding 2 things that make me so happy that I've never let them go. It's time for me to give that blessing back.
Brilliant, huh? Brilliant. Lovely. Beautiful.
आखिर उसकी मेहनत बेकार नहीं जाती, कोशिश करने वालों की कभी.
Brilliant. Adil, Rahul set the tone there. I mean, and I take you to Tokyo, there are 20 people in that stadium, and when that 87.58 happened, that throw, 70,000 stadium, there were 20 people, by the way, because of COVID. And each one of us started behaving, and Rahul's words, boys. We were all adults. I was 5 years younger, so I was 45. And we were all jumping and breaking all COVID protocols of 6 feet and, hugging each other. And every other journalist from around the world thought, what the hell is going on? They came and said, what's happening? And we said, an Indian is winning an Olympic gold for the first time in 100 years. You made it possible, Adil. You made it possible. And now you have a Sachin Yadav who's throwing, according to you and quoting you, 90 meters 4 times in the last months, 29 medals at the Asian Games. Something's going on, something that is not cricket, but at the same time very rewarding. Tell me, how did you make this possible?
That's a very long story. It's 15 years of hard work. So I'll quickly try to compress it. So when I first became president, my president and my secretary general were in jail. And they had left about 3 crores of rupees in the account. So when I became president, I said, okay, there are 3 crores of rupees in the account. And the first month, the accountant calls me and says, sir, we have to pay salaries. I said, yeah, send me the check, I'll sign it. He said, there's no money in the account. So I said, means? The office staff had finished that money. The office staff finished that money in the few months that there was no president and secretary. So when I became president, I said 3 things. I was pushed into it. Nobody wanted to touch the Athletic Federation. I was the bad guy. I formed the Athletes Association. I went on hunger strike. Bhuta Singh had to come all the way to Patiala to break my hunger strike. I have to tell you a secret, I was quietly eating behind, not that I can never not eat, but that's another story. So I said three things. I said one, I said, you have made the naughtiest boy the monitor of the class, so I can't be naughty anymore. Second, I said, what I have suffered, and I must tell you, the night I went to the Olympic Games, I slept on the stairs of National Stadium, outside. Because I landed from Patiala at 3 in the morning, there was no bed, there was no room. I said, this will never happen again. And the third thing I said, I will try my hardest to make sure that we get a medal in athletics, which we have not got. So we started from that. At that time, then the Asian Games just happened, we had 8 medals, 8. So I said, this is not workable. So everybody I went to and said, I need some money, they said, no, Athletic Federation we can't touch, you're outcast. So first 6 months I paid salary from my pocket, 12 people's salary. Then I went to friends. They said, we'll give you money. I said, I don't want to go to jail, boss, don't give me money in the name of federation. I can't collect that money. Put in the account, no. So we said, okay, you give me value in kind. So I'd say, यार ये athlete है, team जा रही है, इसको track suit दे दो. इसका train का fare, आप direct ticket इनका दे दो. आप इसका flight का ticket दे दो. So we started from there. Then I said, no, this is going nowhere. So I said, I need to make a strategic plan. Luckily, I have the education. My thesis was crafting a strategy and implementing it at Asian Institute of Management in Manila. So that was my thesis, and I said, let me put it to some use. So I created a strategy which was a twofold strategy, a grassroots strategy and an elite strategy. The elite strategy is very simple. Elite strategy, if you don't have the expertise, you buy it. Very simple. So I got foreign coaches. So today I have 7 foreign coaches, including somebody who has been Usain Bolt's assistant coach, somebody who's been an Olympic champion himself, etc., etc. That was simple. Now, the grassroots was the most difficult. So we pushed, and it was something which was started before my time. I must say it was started by Mr. Kalmadi and Lalit Banot. They had started something called the Inter-District Athletics Championships. But there were about 150 districts taking part. I said, no, we have 700 districts. So I made constitutional changes to ensure that these districts did their district championships. The keeper said, no, we can't do in district, we don't have a stadium. You have Maidan, no? Go put chokka chuna and do the events. You can't do pole vault, I understand. You can't do steeplechase, I understand. 100, 200, 400, 850, 5,000 long jump. Don't do javelin throw. You might kill somebody, except if you can clear the ground. Hammer, don't do at all. But other events you can do. People who did not do that, I suspended them. So I was the bad guy again. So there was both, I was very harsh with the districts because that's where the grassroots is. And if you see Neeraj Chopra, Duti Chand, Hima Das, everybody came out of this program. Then from here we select, and 13 athletes come to the All India Inter-District. The last All India Inter-District, we had 625 districts, 6,500 athletes. The Athletic Federation pays for their food, accommodation, travel, everything. So no district can say, I can't send my athlete, I don't have the money. And we feed 10,000 people, 6,000 athletes, they're under 14. They come with their parents. Where will the parents go? Lunch, breakfast, dinner, 10,000 people, 1 week. It cost me 15 crores of rupees.
Something good is happening in this country. We don't take a look, but something good is happening.
Okay, so that's the grassroots, and that is what we are pushing. So it is the strategic plan which is working. We pushed it. Then you create an ecosystem. So so there is the athlete. Now what? Where are the coaches? There are no coaches. Who becomes a coach? Have you even thought about it? कोई wrestler होगा, boxer होगा, जो school में, what in our days, जो डफर था, उसको को sports करेगा, sports में चला जाएगा. Now, NIS was the only institute. NIS to me is nothing in sports, but anyway, because they're doing nothing. It was at one time in the 50s and 60s amongst the top 5 institutes in the world. They let it go down the drain. The curriculum is 1950s. Sports science has changed. Everything has changed. The people who are teaching there, I'm very sorry to say, some of them are my colleagues. They can't put 4 sentences together. They are teaching there. So it's garbage in, garbage out, taught by garbage. The quality is so bad. So I said, no, now what do we do? So we have the World Athletics Coaching Program. Luckily, I got onto the world body. I'm the first Indian to ever be elected to the world body in its 100 and odd years of history. So I went to Lord Sepko, who's my president, and I said, so we have about less than 100 level 1 coaches, historically. I went to him and I said, I want to produce 5,000 coaches. So, Seb always looks up and says, get out. Very old friends. So he said, Adille, get out. Adille, he calls me Adille. So, Adille, get out. I have no time for your nonsense. I said, Seb. So then he says, what? I said, I'm dead serious. But he said, how do we do it? A batch of 24 is all you can do, because the way it is structured. He said, how do I do it? I said, no. Very simple. I will pay for those trainers to come to India. They'll stay in India. They'll keep taking batches of 24 and training my coaches. If I have 700 districts, I need coaches. Today we have already 3,000 level 1 coaches. We had less than 10 level 2 coaches. I have 300 level 2 coaches. So now you have to again finish the ecosystem. It doesn't work like that. If you think there's one coach and one athlete to make an Olympic champion, no, you can't do it. So we said technical official. If these people get coached, and if every district has to do a district competition, who's going to run the competition? Every day I get something on my phone. Sir, my son was first and he has been put third. This happened, that. Everybody has my number. I have 40,000 messages which I have not even seen. If you look right now, there are 40,000 messages which I have not seen.
So both Adille and Rahul have given their phones to us.
Pakro. So then we started creating technical officials. So then we said, okay, we don't need a national level technical. So we created district level, state level, national level, international level. And that is how you create an ecosystem. Now, again, if there's an athlete, he's injured, where are the doctors? You have only one. You have one. You don't have too many.